Hi, welcome back to our video series on Uncommon Success, How Family Stewards Produce Intentional Wealth. Today we're jumping into Chapter 1, which is Couples and Money. It's no secret that money disagreements is one of the leading causes of divorce today. But what we found through our research and working with clients is alignment on purposes and values when it comes to money can be a tremendous advantage not only to the marriage and satisfaction, but also it amplifies and increases velocity towards those shared purposes. So let's look at some of the best practices from our interviewees. The first one was, as we mentioned before, alignment of purposes. When we said our wedding vows, our marriage vows, to love, honor, and cherish, cherish means to hold our spouse's concerns as our own. This is a perfect example of that. Have you and your spouse talked about what are your purposes and values when it comes to money? Maybe you don't even know what yours are. Think about that. What is the meaning to your life? And what would have you pass your rocking chair test, as we like to say? If you're 90 years old and you're looking back over life, what would you have accomplished to feel like that was a good and satisfying life? Then obviously money supports those purposes. The next best practice is avoiding distractions. One of the questions we asked our 45 interviewees is, were you knocked off course or knocked off your purpose by trying to keep up with the Joneses? We called it social pressures. And 9.5 out of 10 said no, like no effect at all of trying to keep up with the Joneses. So you can see that they're excellent at not being distracted. Secondly is they remained centered on their plan. They knew their purposes, they knew their why for money, and they knew their intention for producing both the riches and the wealth. Third is eschewing debt. I asked what were some of the practices that gave the highest peace of mind, and number one on that list was getting rid of debt. And fourth, making decisions together. Two top concerns here: comfort and continuity. What do I mean by those? Comfort is where both spouses feel very comfortable with the decisions that are being made and also the advisor teams they're working with. Continuity means that both of them know the others, what they're doing in terms of paying bills, meeting with professionals, making money decisions. They're in communication with each other so that they have a continuity plan should something happen to the other. So let's end with a checklist for you to assess within Couples and Money to see where you may be able to further your success. The first one is, what are your purposes for money? What's your why? What's your spouse's why? Have you talked through that? Number two, do you have a wealth accumulation or preservation plan? And how often has that plan been updated? Number three, once you have your plan, what practices do you have to remain centered on that plan and remain centered on those purposes? How do you avoid distractions? Maybe that's where your network of professionals really helps you. How do you continue to execute your plan? Sometimes you may bump into where you get thwarted. How do you reorganize and recommit and they get recentered on that plan? Number four, what must you do to maintain peace of mind along the journey? This may be different answers for you and your spouse. Have you talked through those? Number five, do both spouses feel like they're heard when there's decisions that are being made? And do they feel like they have a say in those decisions? And that's not only with just the husband and wife making decisions, but also when they're meeting with their advisory team. And last but not least is, are they both comfortable and know well the advisory team such that if one of them has a concern or a breakdown and the other has to go to that advisory team individually, would they have 100% peace of mind and confidence that they're going to get good advice during that time of hardship? Use this checklist as a self-assessment. Sit down with your spouse. Talk about your purposes. Talk about your practices for remaining centered on that plan and not getting distracted. Work through this checklist and use that to be intentional at producing wealth.